Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient slash survivor. Been dealing with cancer since early 2021. And just to give you some updates, I finally reestablished my healthcare situation here in Texas. I met with my oncologist last week and we're setting up testing and things like that. It took forever. I don't know why it took so long, but it did. But we're getting the thing rolling, and I will give you updates, further updates as we move along. But think things look good, and I'm happy with the way things are coming together. Had a nice day out on the lake fishing yesterday, which was different. We were at a little lake called Lake Winters, which is outside of town, and it was really a nice day. Really peaceful, and the weather was great. The fish were not biting, but that's okay. We had a really nice lunch, and it was just so relaxing. So that was that was worth it. Absolutely. I mean, in my younger days, it was all a matter of catching fish, but I was out there just enjoying just incredibly beautiful weather. The lake was absolutely stunning, and uh, and that's to me is what it's all about. But you don't want to hear me ramble. So I
I
have
do.
I have my very special guest, Jill Squire. She's a prominent oncology nurse, author, cancer podcaster, and we are ready, and I hope you are too, for a great interview. So at this time, I'd like to bring on Jill Squire. Please reintroduce yourself and let's get this thing rocking.
Oh, thanks, Mark. He gave me a great introduction, and I also facilitate a support group, which I will always receive from them more than I'll ever give. So, they're just amazing. Thank you so much. So let's go.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go. We were talking before we got on, and Jill and I could talk for hours and
Mhm.
hours and hours. So this is going to go very quickly, and I hope that each and every one of you gets a lot of information out of this. And please like uh, like the video, make a comment, and also, if you wouldn't mind, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. So, Jill, please let's talk about what's been going on in your life. I think that's a good place to start. So what happened over this past holiday weekend?
So as you know, Mark, I lost my 12-year-old grandson to a car accident in October, and that has been a life-changing occurrence event for our family. And Wednesday evening, the whole family was pitching in. We decided to gather at Myrtle Beach because the beach was his favorite place. Myrtle Beach was one of his favorites. We decided to gather to place some of his ashes with the waves. And for part of that, I was placing his ashes into pendants for each of our family members to wear and to keep. And what went through my head while I was placing ashes into each of the pendants is a 12-year-old should not be ashes.
Absolutely. Absolutely not.
And that was really tough. Um, and I I I deal with, as anybody would, periods of grief, periods of anger, periods of really missing him. I have a lot of admiration for my son and his husband and how they're dealing with every day with this and going through life and putting one foot in front of the other. Um, I will say that um, the light that has come out of this, as you and I were talking about, is that my empathy for someone going through a major life change, such as cancer, because there is a before and there's an after. Your life is irrevocably changed. My empathy has deepened immensely. And understanding what that, while it's not cancer and it's not a major illness, it's still a major life change, um, has deepened immensely. And to understand that someone grieves their past life and grieves that, I grieve my life with Zane in it, and having that humorous, laughing, brilliant 12-year-old, um, and the essence he added to our family. So, and watching him grow up, that's not going to be there anymore. But we still go on and we still enjoy each other's company. And this past weekend was absolutely wonderful. Um, a lot of sadness, but a lot of happiness too. And I feel very blessed that we can do that. So
And let me
it's
just interject. I mean, I am so sorry for your loss, and but I'm so happy for your um, awareness and awakening on certain aspects of the situation,
Mhm.
and I'm praying for you.
Oh, thank you. So I feel blessed by how my empathy has deepened through this, because it has, like you said, Mark, it has increased my awareness of uh, I have always actively listened ever since I was an ER nurse. That was like really important in the ER, to actively listen and to read between the lines of what someone was saying. But that sense has multiplied since this has happened, and to gain a sense for what someone is really going through, and how it's affecting their lives. Um, so there you go. I shared it, and um, he,
Thank you for doing that.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's life, and I think as long as we put one foot in front of the other, that's what counts, is putting one foot in front of the other.
And you bring up a great point, is so many people are afraid to take that step to put one foot in front of the other. They want to
Hmm.
stay in that one spot and just feel sorry for, everyone around them and for themselves. And life is for the living.
Hmm.
I mean, we have to live life, and there's certain situations that come up that really throw us for a loop.
Yeah.
But we cannot stay in that one place, because that's when our heads take over and our minds start going in the wrong direction, and that's not a good thing.
And you'll miss so much. You will miss so much if you do that. And that's sad and tragic, to be honest. I mean, what you're going through is sad and tragic, but you'll miss, you'll compound it by missing so much. And I actually interviewed for my podcast, Everything Cancer, a survivor last weekend who had stage 4 colon cancer and had two surgeries that were really tough to get through. And after the second surgery, he said that he woke up and had to wrap his head around the fact that he was going to stay alive. And I started laughing. I said, most people would say wrap their head around that they were going to die. And he said, no, I had already settled that I was going to die. He said, now I had to wrap my head around that I was going to stay alive. And he said it was really hard, but he has done that, and he takes joy in every day. He says, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to miss anything. And he works, um, he he's actually someone I told you about to interview, Mark. He does amazing things in his work. He revitalized his marriage. He's involved in his church. He plays music now, but he decided to live every day as much as he could. Um, instead of letting things pass him by, and instead of um, letting misery rule his world. And I read the book that you recommended to me, Radical Remission by Dr. Kelly Turner. And it really talks about how um, finding pleasure in every day, finding the good in every day, no matter what you have going on, does make a really big difference. And finding something to be thankful for makes a big difference. And I know, the gratitude journals, sometimes that feels like it's overdone. Um, but if you do find something to be thankful for every day, it does change your attitude and it does open your heart to the people around you and to your family and to your friends and to the events going around you so you don't miss important things. So we were talking about mindset, and something that is really
Let me
important about.
pause you for one quick second.
Sure.
That is such a big important point. Um, like when people get diagnosed with cancer, for instance, it's so many people is like, why did this happen to me? And so everything they do is pointed at them. And
Mhm,
what you just brought out, we have to be able to open our eyes and look out
mhm.
because you may miss some really important stuff that's going around you while you're focused internally.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's hard to do, that's also it's focusing on yourself, but it's also focusing outward, is accepting help from other people, because you'll take a burden off your shoulders if you do that. And, and accept, so when people offer you help, they're doing that sincerely. So take advantage of it. And but also do it mindfully. So if someone says, "I'll help you take care of your garden," give them a small, I think we talked about this before, give them a small part of your garden so that they're not overwhelmed by what you've given them. And then they'll be willing to come back or be willing to share it with their garden club or another neighbor or something like that. But in any way, if you make it a manageable task, they're going to keep coming back more than likely. And same thing if they're going to be willing to help you clean, keep it manageable for them so that it is something that they are willing to continue to come back and take that burden off of you. So that's looking inward and looking outward. But whatever you do, don't let life pass you by because it's so precious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do it. I think it's so important to uh, be positive about it and make
Mhm,
sure that that person, you know, instead of just focusing on woe is me and I'm so
mhm,
sick and everything like that, if you're positive, the person will more likely want to keep helping you.
mhm,
And that's I mean, for instance, uh, if you know somebody with a bad attitude, it becomes more of a chore
mhm.
trying to help them instead of that you want to help them get better or you want to help them with the things that they need help with. So, I mean,
Right.
yeah, I love what you're saying.
So another really good way to get yourself in a mindset, whether you're newly diagnosed, in the middle of treatment, in maintenance treatment, or in survivorship, is to maintain really good health for yourself. And you work on that, Mark. You work very hard on that. And so there's really strong tenets, pillars for that. One of them is good sleep. You rejuvenate your body if you get good sleep. And so fatigue, I know I'm probably preaching to the choir to so many people watching this video. Fatigue is one of the biggest things that and one of the hardest things to overcome. But good sleep is something that will help you combat fatigue. And so if you practice good sleep hygiene, that will help you. And it will help you save up energy, say if there's something that you want to engage with in your family you're planning on, and fatigue is something you're battling with, or you have a major project at work. Make sure you're taking care of yourself with good sleep. Going to bed about the same time every night, making sure that you are turning off your electronics at night, making sure that you are doing a bedtime routine at night, and exercise during the day helps you sleep better at night. Don't sleep in really long because that actually makes you feel more tired. Get up in the morning and be active. Um, Another piece of that is eating right and well and staying away from processed foods. And I know people are probably rolling their eyes. We hear this all the time, but it does make a difference. It
Well,
fatigues your body too. You feel it. Think about how you feel after you eat a um a very sweet cake with a lot of sugar on it, or something that's very processed. It takes your body a lot more energy to go through all of that. Plus, also it raises your glucose significantly, and then you have that bottoming out. So if you eat something that's more complex in its carbohydrates and has a lot of protein in it and also has a lot of natural nutrients in it, your body digests it slower and you feel better. You just naturally feel better. Another piece of that is being mindful, and that means practicing mindfulness, meditation. And I don't necessarily mean sitting there in a lotus position with your legs crossed. I mean, just sitting there in your chair and maybe thinking about how your behind feels in that chair and the backs of your legs feel against the chair, and just listening to the sounds around you and your breathing going in and out, and giving your mind a break from all of your thoughts for 5 minutes. You would be surprised at how refreshed you feel after that. And that will also give you a burst of energy before you engage in an activity. But that also does help with chemotherapy induced cognitive impairment, so also known as chemo brain. It gives your brain a break to help you gather your thoughts. It helps you before you dive into a project or even say a game with your grandkids or your kids. Um, it helps you before you go in for treatment. If you're nervous about it, it helps reduce anxiety. There's a lot, and so even the NCI National Cancer Institute is finding a lot of validity behind practice having mindful practices
mhm.
in terms of increasing your immunity and uh, having decreased emergency room visits and doing better. Sitting in a chair for 5 minutes and just listening to your breathing doesn't take a whole lot to do that, but there's a lot of benefit behind it.
So let's kind of tie this together.
Mhm,
So what I see from what you're saying is it's so important to get your mind in the right place in order to move forward. Am I
mhm.
correct there?
Yes.
So what's the best way to do that, from the start? Because the way it is all of a sudden you get your cancer diagnosis and you're expected to make life-changing decisions.
Mhm,
But then there's all these factors involved. There's so much fear and uh, like fear of the unknown, fear of the future, all these different things swirling around that. So how do we focus to get our mind right for the journey, and how do we keep that mind right as we go along?
so if we look at first at diagnosis, um, you have a lot of extraneous information, you have a lot of moving pieces that are overwhelming, and what you want to do is take control over the things that you can. And so that means keeping track of things, which we talked about last time, writing down your next steps in a journal, writing down who you're seeing, when you're supposed to see them, keeping track of things, um, having another person go to your appointments with you because it is overwhelming, and that person can take notes and you can put your notes together. All of that makes a really big difference using credible sources of information, which we went over before, but American Cancer Society is a great one. That's a really good start. And if you have, say, you have lung cancer or prostate cancer, find the website devoted to prostate cancer and go to that and read through that using credible sources of information. But write down your next steps so you don't lose your way. If you write down your next steps in a journal, but practice all those pieces of good health, of of um, getting good sleep, of eating well, of getting exercise, of being mindful, because that's going to help you feel better. It's going to help keep your mind clear. Um, Keep track of the conversations you need to. So maintain control over the things that you can. And those are things that you can. That's so important. And also don't be afraid to ask questions. My gosh. And if something is very complex, repeat back to your doctor or whoever you're talking with what they've explained to you, because repeating back will make sure you're understanding what they've said. And if you didn't get it right, they'll let you know. That's imperative that you understand what is happening. Um, Oftentimes they'll give you printouts. Take your time and go through those printouts because there's important information on it when you're ready to, but make time for it. Make sure you make time for that. So again, take control over what you can, but putting one foot in front of the other, accepting help from other people, that's huge. So just continue to move forward, even if it's a tiny baby step, that's huge. If you're not feeling well, if you're not feeling right, reach out. But again, that's part of taking control, Mark. Reaching out and saying, I don't feel well on this treatment. And I realize you told me I wouldn't, but what you gave me to control my symptoms, it's not working or I'm not feeling right. So make sure they know this and keep up the communication. So go ahead and don't have in your mind, I'm afraid to be a pain. Get that out of your brain. Get that out of your brain. You're not being a pain. You are taking care of yourself. You're taking care of yourself. I love how you're laughing.
Yes. If if I was worried that people would think I've been, oh boy, I mean, I would just be bludgeoning every person who came in contact with me.
Right. But people often say, I don't want to be a pain. Be a pain. Be
Oh,
a pain.
yes, absolutely. Be the
Absolutely be a
biggest,
pain.
not be the
Yes.
big, but do it in the
In a
right way.
respectful way, right?
Yes,
Do it in
yes.
a cordial way, a respectful way. Write down your questions before you call. Be respectful. I'm not saying don't be respectful. Be respectful, but call and ask questions. And also enter your relationship with your treatment team as a collaborative relationship, meaning you're all a team together. You're on a team together. You're going to work together as a team. That's going to be in your head. I'm going to work with them as a team. I'm going to communicate with them, and that you want a positive outcome. And so positive outcome may not mean a cure, but it may mean keeping things under control and feeling well, being able to do what you want to do. So you may have to readjust your goals, but that's, if that is what you're needing to do, understand. Also, by all means, as we talked about last time, get a second opinion and a third opinion. But make sure that the opinion you're getting is backed up by the other people you're talking with. And that again, that's taking control. So take control over the things that you can. Take good care of yourself. That's so important. And expect good outcomes from your conversations, expect good relationships, and have someone go with you, and take good care of yourself. But that mindset of of looking outward and not letting life pass you by, that's important.
That is phenomenal advice. And it's so simple, but it's not the easiest thing to do when you're in the throes of something like cancer.
Right. But if you do engage in something like that, you will find that your mind gets off of your situation and you feel better and you're forgetting about things for a bit. And going to work, for people that work, going to work oftentimes is really healthy because you are establishing a sense of normalcy. You are with your work family, which oftentimes is a very supportive family, and you are doing something that has meaning and purpose to you. So if you're not working, engage in something that has meaning and purpose to you because it does get your mind off of things and it keeps your brain active, which is really important. So whether it's a hobby or belonging to a club or something like that, engaging in something with meaning and purpose is huge. And that makes a big difference. People often find that if they're doing something for others or something with meaning and purpose, they feel better.
And that's the thing that has blown me away in my cancer journey, um, is when you look outward and you want to help people, even though you're going through something major like that. I've learned so much, and I'm so thankful for the experience that I mean, cancer, you know, and I've said this a million times, but cancer has definitely changed my life for the better. And because it's shifted drastically certain outlooks that I had. I used to look internally more about what can I do for me, what could I do for my family, and my focus is outward and looking how can I help people
Mhm.
makes a huge difference. I mean, I can't even describe it.
It does make a huge difference. It really does. And, taking really good care of yourself makes such increasing your positive emotions, increasing your social support, um, all of those make a huge impact on how well you do moving forward. And even if you make a tiny baby step forward in 1 day or 2 days' time, at least it's a step forward. And that is good. As long as you keep yourself going forward in terms of not staying under the bed covers and just ignoring everything, but engaging and communicating with your treatment team, communicating with your family or your support system. Engage and don't just ignore the world around you and don't be the yes man. Yes, 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 whatever you say, yes. Don't do that. Listen and make sure you understand. That's take part in your care. Be engaged.
I have a new friend that I met several weeks ago, and he uh, one of what he does for a living is he drives a bus. But the thing that is unusual about him is he is an amputee, and so he has a prosthetic leg. And so we originally got into a conversation. I asked him, I said, if you wouldn't mind, sharing about, what happened to you. And so he said that he was riding a motorcycle and a truck hit him. And, he lost his leg as a result. But he said he went through a period of hating the world and all of that,
Mhm,
but now I mean he's got the most beautiful attitude, and he's like unstoppable. And so what he wants to do is and I think it's kind of crazy, but he wants to get back on his motorcycle and live a normal life. And hey, more power to him if he could do it.
mhm,
I mean, there's so many restrictions that we put on ourselves through our mind. And if we could overcome these things like John has, then it's so important that we do it. And it seems impossible. But if you look, I mean, one of the things I do for those who don't know is I repost a lot of things on LinkedIn, and I look for very positive messages, videos with a great positive message, and people really, really resonate with that.
mhm.
And I always get people saying, "Wow, where do you find this stuff?" And pretty soon when you get a good enough following, all of a sudden it starts coming to you and all that. But what's important is how we can learn from these inspirational stories, absolutely inspirational stories. And I mean, there's just so much good that we can get
Yes.
from hearing people's stories and learning from them and
Mhm.
applying it to our own lives because there's just so many incredible people out there. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Looking at it from your perspective as an oncology nurse.
Oh my gosh, I have met so many amazing people, both as patients and as caregivers and as professionals who are just filled with a light and that I carry with me all the time and that inspire me in so many ways. So I completely agree with you. And, you know, I typically find good in just about anyone. But there are some people who are really like yourself, Mark, who just really shine for the rest of us and motivate
Thank
us.
you.
You're welcome. And that means a lot because we need that. We do.
I have one final question for you. You and your family went through a very traumatic experience with your grandson. What would you like to share with our audience from that lesson?
You never know when someone is going to leave your life. So life is precious and just enjoy it. Enjoy every moment with your family and with your friends that you can, and I don't mean be irresponsible with your job and so on, but, um, take advantage. Don't miss things that could be important for silly reasons.
That is beautiful. I mean, things like that, if they don't change us, then there's something wrong because we miss something that everything in life, in my opinion, has a lesson when it's a very life-changing event. And I think that's one of the things that it's so important in life is that we learn from these
Mhm.
events in our life. Otherwise, what's the purpose of anything?
Right,
If we didn't learn something very, very valuable moving forward.
right. So, when I find myself getting really wrapped up in projects and so on, and I'm inclined to say no to someone, I'm like, "I can't do that." I need to be there. I really need to be there because I don't wanna regret not being there. And, so it's really important to me. And that's pretty much don't have regrets.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Jill, I mean, I just love talking to you. You always have s- such great words of wisdom for everyone. And I thank you so much for your time. And this has just been awesome. And I was going to mention about our cancer conquering community, but this is taped, so it's going to be be a little later.
Well, I I I appreciate your time. The can and I know I'm going on. The cancer journey is a tough journey, but you can find joy in it, and it's important to find joy in it and to take those moments and savor them to keep you going and keep moving forward.
I do want to mention this. We have our cancer conquering community every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And Jill is going to be our first speaker. And what we're going to do is we are going to put it on YouTube so you'll be able to see her twice for the interviews and for our cancer conquering community. So we look forward to that tremendously. Jill, thank you so much
Thank you.
for your time and for sharing your very, very valuable information. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you out there for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. Please like, make a comment in the comment section, subscribe if you like, and thank you so much. Have a phenomenal week, and we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero. Thank you.